I'm here with church member and one of our elders, John Bavona. We're at his place of work, which is the University of Chicago's Howard T. Ricketts Laboratory on the campus of Argonne National Laboratory. Big fancy words, but this is cool, John. I'm loving this place. Thanks for having us.
I am just glad you're here to visit.
This is good. Well, we're having a conversation. Specifically, we're kind of amongst the tools of science, but to talk about the beginnings of all creation, because Scripture says that God created man and all nature, right? So in the world of science, there have been other ways to sort of explain how it all started.
Yeah, other theories exist. However, with the emergence of technology like the Hubble telescope, coupled with scientific advancements, provide compelling evidence of an intelligently ordered universe. The universe is filled with essential parameters set to precise values where even minor deviations would make life as we know it impossible.
Like precise parameters. Okay, so then in the science community, we have to get to those somehow. So what is sort of the leading belief about the origin of the universe?
Yeah, the Big Bang is the prevailing theory that begins with a point of void, so nothing, that produced an accidental, chaotic explosion that paradoxically evolved into a universe filled with design, order, intelligence, and culminating with human life.
All out of nothing.
Right.
So then we have to ask the question, how did we get here, right? So that means there's kind of two camps. You've got the universe is some sort of accidental, unintentional, non-intelligent, chaotic Big Bang, right? From a singular point out of nothing, or the God of the Bible, who takes credit for creation in our scripture, has something to do with it, right? So what is your conviction as you kind of weigh through the evidence?
Yeah, the Big Bang is a scientific enigma. Intelligence emerging from non-intelligence, chaos producing order, life coming from non-life. These things, you can't produce them in a laboratory. The evidence falls way short.
So you're saying, like, instead of accidental, that you believe there's some intentionality in design?
Absolutely. I believe a universe that's filled with intelligence and order and purpose was more likely designed by a creator whose very essence embodies intelligence, purpose, and order.
Okay, so everybody wants you to prove it to me, right? So like, what methods would you use to validate a theory like that?
Yeah, so qualitative and quantitative analysis are two methods used in research to validate theories. Qualitative analysis involves observations such as size or taste or smell or patterns that we see. Let me give you an example. When observing Mount Everest, could someone conclude that it randomly evolved over millions of years?
Sure,
I would argue yes. However, Mount Rushmore, could someone conclude it randomly evolved? Absolutely not.
Presidents' faces, that doesn't make a lot of
Absolutely
sense.
not. Mount Rushmore was created with design.
Yep.
And then we can make quantitative observations, things that we can measure.
So now how would you validate this idea of intelligent creation using something that we can measure, right? Give me an example.
Well, there are numerous examples, but for the sake of time, I'm going to give you 4.
Okay.
The habitable zone. Earth's distance from the sun is critical. 5% closer and temperatures would hit 900 degrees. 20% further and the planet would freeze. Number 2, oxygen levels.
Okay.
21% is ideal for breathing. Below 19.5 poses health risks.
Okay.
Exceeding 23.5 brings physical dangers like fires.
So 19, can't breathe, 23, like too dangerous. So we get right there in the sweet spot, and we're right there.
Right there.
Okay, gotcha.
The magnetic field. Unlike other planets, Earth has a magnetic field. Our magnetic field shields us from solar winds and radiation, which are vital for life.
Okay.
The size of our sun, final example. The size of our sun is larger than 90% of the stars in the galaxy. If it were smaller, Earth's rotation and orbit would synchronize, rendering life impossible.
Okay, so all those things are dialed in very precisely, which means that the idea of these all happening randomly seems pretty improbable. So let's kind of talk about probability as it relates to that.
Yeah, so probability is the likelihood of something happening, just a simple definition. Some examples. The probability of randomly guessing a 6-digit PIN on an iPhone,
Yep. Okay.
1 in a million.
Makes sense. Yep.
Randomly pulling out A through Z in alphabetical order from like a Scrabble pouch.
Sure.
1 times 10 to the 26th power.
10 to the 26th. So 1 with 26 zeros after
following
it.
it.
That's
Randomly
pretty
doing
big,
that,
pretty big.
right.
Okay.
The
Got it.
probability of the 4 examples I mentioned, remember there are numerous others, but just the 4
Yep.
randomly occurring, 1 times 10 to the 24th power.
Okay. Huge.
So let me try to put that number in perspective.
Yep.
There are about 2.8 times 10 to the 27th grains of sand on Earth. If I painted 1 grain red, placed it randomly in the world,
Yep.
blindfolded you, had you on your way to go anywhere in the world, and you found that 1 grain of sand, to conclude that it was random coincidence would be absurd. It's much more likely that someone put that 1 grain of red sand in your hand.
Yeah. Pretty improbable. I get you. So then now let's put it all together, right? With all these constants and parameters that are randomly set up, for intelligent life, what would you say is that final probable number, like 1 in a what chance that we could actually do that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Hard to determine, but what we do know in the known universe of the parameters that we do know that have to be fine-tuned, 1 times 10 to the 120th power.
Which eclipses all those other numbers.
Absolutely.
Tremendously.
Absolutely.
That's astronomical. So then from your perspective, this is the final question. This is what we all are hoping to hear from you. What is the likelihood of human life coming from random chance?
It's not likely.
Yeah.
In fact, it's far, far from it.
Wow. Well, thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you.